Welcome, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Glad to see everyone joining in. And as you're joining in, if you will drop me a note in the chat, letting me know where you're tuning in from would be great. I'm going to jump over here and check our tech. It does appear that we are now live and connected on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and YouTube. So, good deal there. If you are catching this on the replay, if you will use hashtag replay, so when you leave your comments, that way we'll know. Also, if you have questions along the way, if you will tag me in those, I do get a notification, and that way I can make sure that we respond to you as well. So, um, let's have some introductions. If I am new to you and you are new to me, my name is Beverly Smith, and I am the founder of Career Success Strategies. As the former owner of a staffing and recruiting firm, I know firsthand what hiring managers are looking for. And I use that knowledge now to help mid, senior, and executive level professionals as they build their resumes, help them with their LinkedIn branding, help them with their job search strategies, also they can land the career of their dreams. So last week, we talked about salary negotiation. And if you missed it, it was a really good, informative episode. You can definitely go check that out on my YouTube channel, which is at Beverly Smith Resumes. I've got the link there down below that you can find and go see that. We've got all of our replays are there, but you'll need to make sure you go to the live tab to actually see the videos. They're not on the front screen. So definitely go and check that out. This week, however, I am super excited. Got a special guest to come on the show with us. We're going to be talking about what to do with your 401k that you left behind at your last job, and just other ways to prepare yourself financially when you are making the job transition. So I brought my friend and financial expert, Tricia Curreri, to shed light on this dilemma. So let me tell you a little bit about Tricia. She is a financial advisor with Edward Jones and helps clients across the country achieve their short and long-term wealth strategies. Legacy and estate considerations are design topics that fuel her practice. As a chartered advisor in philanthropy, easy for me to say, Tricia sits on the board of the Arkansas Prostate Cancer Foundation and is the chairman of the Foundation Fund of Ambassadors at the Arkansas School for Math, Sciences, and the Arts. Tricia is also a member of the Central Arkansas Human Resource Association and the Association of Fundraising Professionals. Most recently, Tricia's been awarded by Leukemia and Lymphoma Society as the 2022 Woman of the Year runner-up, and by Edward Jones for the prestigious 2023 Client Service Excellence Award for ranking number one in Central Arkansas. Tricia's married to John, and they have two boys, Lincoln and Henry. And together they love cheering the Arkansas Razorbacks. They love playing basketball, traveling, and spending time at the lake. You can connect with her on her LinkedIn, and she also hosts monthly events in Little Rock if you'd like to learn more about different financial topics or schedule a one-to-one visit with her. So, Tricia, welcome. I am so excited to have you here with us. Thanks for
Thank you,
joining.
Beverly. Happy to be here.
Yeah.
We get to talk about everybody's favorite topic, money.
Money, I know. And, I want to tell you one of the reasons that I reached out to you specifically, obviously, I know a lot of financial advisors, but I really love your LinkedIn presence. And my audience knows that I'm just a huge proponent of LinkedIn. And you're actually a very prime example of why I advocate that job seekers should stay active on the platform even after they land their job. They get opportunities to collaborate like this. They can also promote their companies. They can speak and attend events. So I just wanted to celebrate you and for the way that you, your presence that you maintain on LinkedIn. I just love it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn quite a bit. There's a lot of great connections and things that you can learn from there.
Absolutely. Um, and if I remember correctly, your LinkedIn is just your name, right?
That is correct.
Very good. If I can, I may drop that here in the chat here in just a second so everyone will have that. So let's just dive in because we've got a lot I want to cover in the next few minutes. Let's talk about some of the financial mistakes that you see people make during these moments of turmoil, say after a layoff.
So the biggest thing that we saw when COVID started in March of 2020 was just it becomes sheer panic, right? So you
Mhm.
don't know what's going to happen. You may or may not have a savings that you can depend on. Even if you do have a nice savings account, you really don't know how long this period might last you. So you may have 3, 4, 6 months of emergency savings available to you, but as you know, in your field, sometimes it takes a lot longer to find the right fit for you. So a lot of the unknown can cause some anxiety. And the biggest mistake that we see is people kind of have a knee-jerk reaction and cash out their 401k. So there's
Ooh.
several things that come along with that. If you're under 59 and a half, you're going to receive a 10% penalty from the IRS. And then you're going to be paying tax on all of that money. And so, understandable, your first kind of response to something like that, especially if it's unexpected, like a layoff, is going to be in the form of, how do I provide for myself and my family and not have any hiccups in my day-to-day financials, which is completely understandable. But there is another way that you can be more tax efficient and be mindful of everything for your future self as well. And so
Mm.
what I would recommend is looking at, so you can accomplish your goals, is to look at doing a rollover into an IRA, which is an individual retirement account.
Mm.
And that is going to allow you to, once you separate from your job, you can roll that over into an IRA. It's not a taxable event. And then you are able to draw on that IRA as needed. And so, just for easy math, if you had $100,000 in your 401k and you do a withdrawal directly from your previous employer, you'll have the 10% penalty, and then they're going to withhold taxes. So you may end up with 65, 70,000 in cash in a lump sum. And, maybe you find a job in the next 2 weeks or in the next month. But if you roll that $100,000 over into an IRA, maybe you only need 2,000, 3,000 a month to draw off of, so you can draw off that smaller monthly amount that you need for your budget, and then you're only paying tax on a lot smaller amount.
Mhm.
So that's a way that you can create a monthly income, and then you don't have to pull from that large balance once you do find a new position.
Okay, that's great. That's great advice. I had no idea that you could make those small withdrawals. I kind of felt like you were probably locked in until you're 59 and a half. So that's good to know. But there is the penalty associated with that, correct?
Right, you're still going to pay taxes and you're still going to have that penalty when you do file your taxes the following year. However,
Hmm.
if you've only withdrawn $10,000 for, monthly expenses, you're, having those on a $10,000 amount versus $100,000 in that same scenario.
Correct. That's a great point. So let's talk a little bit about how people can be prepared for a job change, whether it's expected or unexpected.
So in both scenarios, we have a lot of balls up in the air at that point, right? So we're looking at, especially when you start a new job, we're kind of learning through the fire hose. And so you're trying to learn your new job, you're, still managing family and all these other things. And it comes to the point where we tend to put ourselves on the back burner, and we really need to be mindful of taking that moment and going ahead and consolidating our finances and making sure everything is accurate. I have seen over the years people leave a job and they just kind of leave a trail of 401ks behind them, and then they don't know what they have. It's difficult to plan. And then if they do get in a position of perhaps they lose a job from a layoff, then they're kind of scrambling at that point. So what I would encourage anybody to do is, as you do change jobs, go ahead and consolidate those old 401ks into an IRA.
Okay.
It has multiple benefits. You're going to have everything in one place. If you need cash, you can go ahead and pull from those at that time. Because here's the issue that we kind of need to be mindful of is during that moment of when you are separated from your employer, there's typically a 30-day wait period before you can even access your 401k. So they want you to be separated for that 30-day period, and then you call and you start the process of doing that rollover. And so that is going to give you even a more time considerations that you have to consider as far as, when would you be able to have access to that money if needed? And then also just having everything together and not losing track, because, you've worked hard for that money and you were mindful to be saving it, and you don't want to forget about, which jobs you had where and who had a 401k and those types of things.
Absolutely. So, yeah, let me ask you this too. Is there, trying to think how I want to ask this. If they leave their position, like if they get laid off, or released, like it's not their decision to leave. So you're saying that they do not have access to their money for 30 days, correct?
Yeah, it's all plan specific, but
Okay.
typically most of the plans will require a 30-day separation prior to being able to process that rollover. And so that's why it's important, if you've had multiple jobs in the past and you have those outstanding 401ks, then you can go ahead and consolidate all of that. And so you have, an available balance of funds if needed, if you get, separated in the future.
Great. What is the process like to do that consolidation? And are there any tax implications to the job seeker?
So naturally, they're all different, right? Some of them are by phone very easily. Some we can hop online and process that request. Others are going to be more complicated and time consuming, as far as maybe they want the plan will send you some paperwork in the mail. Some require you to have a spouse signature, and some even require the former employer to sign off that you no longer work there. So they are all very different. And what we do is we will do a conference call with our client and with the provider, and find out how they process it. Typically what I will do is I'll say, okay, here's what it's going to look like. Beverly, we're going to get on the phone, and I'll kind of get us to that live person, and then let you know, Beverly, they're going to ask you to verify your personal information. They're going to make sure it's okay to discuss the information with me on the phone as a third party. I'm going to ask them questions as far as, what does their process look like? Do we need any of their paperwork? Can we process by phone or online? I always verify the balance, how much of that is pre-tax or after tax, and then what that process looks like to roll it over. Typically they will mail a check, and it's really kind of 50-50 whether they'll mail it directly to us where we can put it into your IRA account, or they will mail the check directly to you. So in that scenario, the check would be made payable to Edward Jones for benefit of Beverly Smith. So when you get that check, it's still going to be made payable to the financial institution for your benefit. But they're all different.
So let me ask you this. So I go on and I secure a new position. That company has a 401k that I opt into. does my money, should I leave it? I don't even know. Can you pull from one and put it into another, or is this just like we're starting fresh with a brand new 401k with each job?
Yeah, so you have four options really. You can do the cash out, which again is going to have tax and penalty implications. You can leave it where it is.
Mhm.
There are pros and cons to that. And or you can roll it into your new plan, or you can move it into an IRA. So those are your four options, and we always make sure our clients understand what all of their options are and the pros and cons of each. But yes, it
Okay.
can be rolled into a new plan.
Okay. If I roll it into an IRA though, I wouldn't want to move it back into a 401k, would I, or would I?
No, that would remain separate. So when you are able to start contributing to that new 401k plan, you still have access to the IRA as well.
Okay.
So one thing that we see is a lot of plans do have a time frame, and maybe you have to be there at the company for 12 months before you can start contributing to that 401k. And we unfortunately see people say, well, I can't contribute to the 401k plan, so I'm just going to, continue on for the next 12 months and then start making those contributions to the 401k, which is great. And we want you to do that. But in the meantime, those next 12 months, you can be contributing to that IRA in the meantime
Mhm.
and still saving and getting ahead. So for this year, for 2024, you can put up to $7,000 into an IRA.
Mhm.
And then if you're 50 or older, there is a catch up where you can do another $1,000. So 50 and older, $8,000 this year into an IRA, which you can do that in addition to your 401k, but especially for those individuals that aren't able to contribute to their 401k yet, I would encourage going ahead and making contributions to that IRA on the side until they can start making 401k contributions.
Can that be set up to monthly deduct out of your account or from your check? How does that work?
Yes.
Um,
So I always tie clients' checking accounts to their accounts here. And then that way, yes, monthly funds can be transferred back and forth easily. Just direct deposit. It's much
okay.
easier and quicker, obviously, than doing a check, but especially for monthly contributions. We're pretty flexible on all the contributions actually, since people get paid in different manners, weekly, biweekly, monthly.
Mhm.
So however the person would like to make contributions time frame wise, then that can be set
Mhm.
up easily.
Absolutely. So I'm thinking, to hit that 7,000, that sounds like a lot at one time, but if they broke that down over a 12-month period, that would be pretty simple, it seems like.
Yes, we have a
And
lot that contribute monthly.
and a great way to keep you on that cycle where you're still saving money versus just waiting until that you're eligible to participate in your 401k at your office.
Yeah, and that's the maximum in the IRA.
Mhm.
I always have clients, well, I can't contribute that much. It's okay if you can do $50 or $100 or 200, whatever fits within your
Mhm.
budget for saving, is going to help in the long run and help your finances and retirement plans in the future. So that's just the maximum dollar amount. There is no minimum.
Absolutely. I'm gonna check and see. I don't see that we have any questions, but y'all, if y'all have questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. And again, if you're catching this on the replay, um, ask questions. I will get with Tricia and we'll get back over to you for sure. Well, okay, I want to move on and let's talk about something that I think um, is just important. And how early should someone start focusing on retirement planning? And what other tools and products besides a company 401k do you recommend for that process?
So when we say the word retirement, we typically start thinking, mid to late 60s. And for maybe young professionals that are just starting their career, they're thinking to themselves, I just got out of school, I just got my first job. I'm not talking, I'm not even thinking about retirement at this point. It's not about retirement, it's about building wealth
Mm.
providing yourself financial flexibility, which in turn, it leads to retirement. So the retirement savings vehicles that are available to you through your employer are a great way to start. Looking at retirement, a lot of people kind of place that into one bucket, but we've got to kind of move it into maybe three different buckets is how I explain it to clients. Is the first bucket we're looking at, future or current needs that you have right now. We're also looking at midterm, like maybe 3 to 5 years out. What does that look like, and how can I build wealth for that period? And then a longer bucket of 20 plus years. Maybe you don't need that money until retirement. We have people that they have accumulated enough funds through their lifetime, and they are very mindful of their spending, and they're never going to spend the money. I have clients that I encourage. I'm like, please go spend some of this money, like enjoy it, like do something. But that also leads to other opportunities for people, leaving behind a legacy, helping a charity, or, different things, helping different family members, helping extended family, because they have that flexibility. So I always do encourage to, make those contributions to your 401k. I will kind of sidestep here and say, a lot of times when I ask people, you're contributing to your 401k, yes, how much are you doing? And they say, well, I'm maxing it out. And that can be a little bit tricky. So most employers typically will match up to the first 3% that you put in. So I have found people say, oh, I'm maxing out, I'm putting in 3%. Well, you are not maxing out, because the max that you can put in for this year, and it changes, for 2024, the maximum contribution that you can put into your 401k is 23,000.
Oh, okay.
And
Wow.
so, and then the catch up is 7,500 if you're 50 or older. And so that can be a huge number discrepancy. And so people think, oh, well, a lot of people think 3% is the most that they can put in. And that is not accurate. So making sure we understand how much we can put in and why. And then for those that are perhaps maxing out or would like some other opportunities, the next step would be looking at doing that IRA, which is outside of your 401k. And then there are some other options, such as, having a brokerage account. And that is a way that you can spend money, have it invested, and have it growing over time. And that is always accessible to you. There's no age restrictions as far as the 59 and a half. There's no tax penalties if you take any of that money out.
Okay. Very good.
Another option, and this is really a niche product for high income earners, which is considered to be $150,000 for individual or $250,000 for a couple. And that is a life insurance retirement plan. And that is an option where you can essentially build yourself a tax-free pension. There are some different requirements in there. There's an age range that it is appropriate for, but those are for individuals that have the ability to max out their 401k contributions, and they have the ability to max out an IRA, and they still want to save more money. So that is something that we help those individuals just have another tool to be able to use and have some savings.
Is that 150K or that 250 for the couple? Is that a minimum, or is that a max that they can?
No, well, those are kind of our baseline. If you're making that much, then and able to be filling all the other types of buckets for retirement, then we start looking at this as an additional tool to use. So, there are those are kind of the parameters as far as income minimums, and then age minimums. Typically, we're looking somewhere between 30 and 55 on that product. So it's a fairly niche product, but it's available to be able to save more money.
That's really cool. So you kind of touched on this already, but I'm thinking too, we said retirement is a little bit, like you said, a kind of almost a misnomer. I mean, it is more about wealth creation. I think when we want to go and look at the young people, and you're seeing more of this now where people are getting into, say, their late 30s or their 40s, and they're ready to pivot and do something completely different. And it's not really a technical excuse me, retirement. Maybe they're wanting to take a sabbatical and travel the world with their children or things like that. So um, talk a little bit about what um, someone might want to do that wouldn't penalize them in order to do something different, not wait until they're 62 to take money out.
Yeah, so we see a lot of plans change over the years, especially I have found that when grandkids come along, those grandmas decide, you know what, I'm ready to retire earlier. I need to move and be closer. So the family dynamics is always kind of a trigger for, major finances. And there's a lot that you can plan and prepare for on the front end. And we're always trying to prepare for what we know about and then plan for what's unexpected, and then be able to kind of move that pendulum back and forth to find that flexibility. We never, I also see on the other side of it where people say, well, I'm going to work forever. Well, as we've seen and you see all the time, unexpected layoffs. We see health issues where you simply cannot continue working. And so trying to be prepared for that, and looking at the wealth building process, we have clients that, want to save for a boat or want to just, take a year off and travel. And so we're helping them fill those financial buckets so they can do that and feel confident in their plan. Because those plans are changing. And that's why we sit down and visit, at least at a minimum on an annual basis. But we have a lot of times where, quarterly, that we're touching base and checking goals, and always making sure that everything that we're doing and suggesting is going to help reach those goals and achieve all those results that you're looking for.
Absolutely. Let me grab sorry about that, my battery. I need to plug in real quick. There we go. No, and I see so many people that are in my age range, a little over 50, that decide, hey, I'm really ready to pivot and do something different and maybe go into business for myself, but I need that cushion. And I think sometimes those are things you don't know when you're 25 or 30 that you want to do that. But having the resources, I know, like in my case, that was huge. The fact that we had the resources to be able to make a change and do something, because we did prepare ahead, is huge. And so I really think you've offered a lot of great possibilities there that people don't consider.
Yeah, and just looking at the discussions that we have around that, making sure that clients have access to a brokerage account where that money is available at all times, having a bucket of tax-free money, having a bucket of after-tax money. So we kind of help manage the building and accumulation of all those different types of income and wealth, and then also the distribution later on.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Was there anything you want to add that we haven't touched on, Tricia?
I would just say, because being on LinkedIn with you, I do see a lot of those layoffs, and this, as we've seen, includes people that have been working at the same company for 20, 25, 30 years. And it is quite a shock of looking at the tool of possibly doing an in-service rollover, which for my clients by age 62 or 12 months prior to retirement, looking at that strategy, a lot of plans will allow you at 59 and a half to roll your current 401k out of the company and into an IRA, which again gives you more control, gives you more options. If you need income in the future, you can turn it on immediately.
Really good to know.
Yeah, as you are still employed there, you still are contributing to the plan. You're still putting in money to the 401k, And then, we kind of do that subsequent rollover when you decide to retire, change jobs, or if in the event that you do get laid off. But that way, that bulk of money that you have been saving is already kind of more into a protection mode. It's into a mode of where it is available for distribution if needed. So those are just some different strategies to think about as you are kind of nearing the end of your working years, or maybe the end of your working as hard years, and kind of plan to back off and enjoy life a little bit more.
Let me ask you, if someone forgets and does not deal with a 401k from like 3 employers ago, what do they have options? I mean, how does that work?
So it's just going to be sitting there. A lot of times it will get moved into a target date fund. So it's just based on your age, how aggressive it might be, whether in growth or income. And it's just going to sit there. It's not being managed, and nobody's going to call you for advice. And if you don't call them, they're not calling you. So that's why it's important to keep up with your plans that you have, and just kind of leads to the value of moving those over into an IRA, so nothing gets left behind. Because when you're trying to pull old statements, and there are mergers and businesses that fail, it's hard to keep up with it if it's scattered all over the place. And we have enough on our plates that we don't need to add more things complicating it.
Absolutely. But if someone is watching this that maybe they think, oh my goodness, I don't know that I did anything with my 401k and I've long since moved on, is that something that you can help them with?
Sure. We just make some phone calls. If you have the contact information, we'll just get through. They're able to pull that information up, and then kind of discuss through what the next steps look like, what the options are. We always want to make sure to be very clear of all the options, and in different ways that you can kind of put a plan together and have a strategy in place.
Absolutely. That could be like some found money for somebody that hadn't dealt with that. And you're like, oh, I really have more, in savings than I realized I did. So don't neglect those accounts for sure.
It can be eye-opening when if you have, say, 5 different accounts, and you really don't know how much you have. But when you consolidate it all and see that, one number at the bottom of your statement, you're like, wow, I've done pretty good, or I have a lot more than I thought I did. So it's nice to see those aha moments as well.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Well, this has been so informative, and I just really appreciate you coming on and hanging out with me this afternoon for lunch, and helping our audience. I don't have any questions that have come up, but again, y'all, if you're catching this on the replay, please make sure that you leave your questions for us. And if some of you are leaving questions and that for whatever reason they're not showing up here on our StreamYard platform, I apologize. We will both be over on LinkedIn afterwards and just check and make sure that we've got your questions covered. So definitely you can tag either one of us. And I want to encourage y'all to go follow Tricia on LinkedIn. She does post regularly, and I always love her posts because they're lifestyle posts. I love the one on the light switch you did the other day. I thought that was great. but you'll get to see her family in some of those, and she just always can ties that back into ways that you may not have thought of as far as saving for your future. So thank you so much for joining us, Tricia.
Thank you. I appreciate all that you do as well.
Well, I want to tell everyone too that if you are in that transition period, I just want to remind you guys that I do help mid, senior, and executive level professionals with their resumes and their job search strategies. So I'm going to drop in the chat for you a link to book with me. It's also on the screen here. Feel free to do that. It's a complimentary consultation. We can talk a little bit more about what it is you need and how my team and I can best help you move forward. So next week, I have another great episode, got another guest. Actually, it's our buddy, Tricia. It's Kristen. She's coming
All
on to talk
right.
about wellness in the workplace and well-being among leaders. So I'm excited for that. And with that being said, I will see everyone here same time next week. Y'all have a great day.